everybody. I'm Dan Lutz, and I'm here with my co-host,
DANK.
and we're here on the front lines in the battle against the deep state and all of those others out there that are wishing to do us serious harm for their own crazy reasons. Anyway, sorry, the cat is roaming around me. She decided to wake up. So, anyway, so how's it going, Tank?
So far, so good. I do not have an update from Kent, just so everybody knows. I'm just waiting to see what's going on there.
Okay.
And should have something to report somewhere, maybe later this week, hopefully. But as far as I know, we're just waiting on, the world will change at the moment. So, watching all the other pieces come together.
Well, it seems like there's a lot of pieces coming together. I think one of the more interesting things is Hong Kong, right? Because of, I think it was missed, how much the people showed up to vote in Hong Kong, how big of a deal that actually was. I mean, it's not something like they haven't done before, but they turned out in such massive numbers that it really showed. China basically believes that people can't govern themselves, and so
Right.
this basically flies in the face of that idea, right? And of course, then all of China, who considers Hong Kong part of China, but the Hong Kong people don't think that they're part of China, right? So but in China, they think that Hong Kong's part of them. So on that side of things, if they're voting, right? If they're, expressing what they want done in the government, and the government didn't stamp them down, and the reason that didn't happen was because Trump called Ping.
Because Trump called what?
Ping, the president, Xi Jinping.
Oh, Xi.
Yeah, Xi.
Oh, Ping. Sorry. Oh,
yeah,
Hong Kong.
Ping.
Gotcha.
I just went, by Ping, but sorry.
Yeah, I got you.
Xi. So the first name, basically. So I went last name to last name.
Gotcha.
Ping is
gotcha.
the last name. So, anyway, so Trump is the last name. So, and basically, I don't know what obviously was said, but he basically warned China not to go in and be heavy-handed on them. So I think that goes to say a lot about how the things are going in the world, right? And this realignment that's happening, It looks like it's Japan, is going to be in the East, is going to be where, is going to be the power source and the money and everything will be from there. Of course, that's, taking it away from China. That's why I don't think there's going to be a China deal. And I don't think Trump really expects there to be one, because it means surrender of communism, I think is the only thing that will be satisfactory to Trump. But I'm just putting my opinion out there. But China's plans for dominance in the world, are fading away. Also, the part of that was the stuff that was going on with 5G and their technology, taking over for robotics, chip manufacturing, and 5G. And I actually lined up a video to go over what 5G really is, and not about them cooking everybody and with the radiation and all that fear porn that they use to get people to stay away from 5G. Right? It really is to get America from not developing it, right? So because they want to own the pipeline, they want to own the platform, and anyway, so I want to go ahead and share that. Switch this over. Let's see. So this is it's called "The Threat of 5G" is the name of the video from Valuetainment, and I'm started about 2 minutes in. And before, the first 2 minutes, he's just really talking about the phones themselves. We migrated to the phones, and when Apple did it, it was an encrypted platform, right? It is an encrypted platform. Why? Is because the American customers want privacy, right? And then Google, who owns Android, went ahead and did the next thing. They also encrypted. So the reason was because the marketplace. So that's the setup. So let's listen to this. Well, let me share my screen for you, Tank. A second here. Okay.
The platform and the pipe. So the smartphone, this iPhone, which was the first one, then Android. So Apple and Google, right, dominate the mobile platform that the app services and business models of that economy are built on. Now look at the iPhone. It's a hardware, software, tightly integrated, closed-walled system like Steve Jobs liked, and the data was encrypted. Why was the data encrypted? Why did San Bernardino happen? Because Apple's an American company, right? They know you want privacy. They encrypt their phone. So now you've got the platform, and Android also went on to encrypt their platform. So both encrypted, right? So private devices. Take the cloud away from it. Just look at the device itself.
Sure.
It's meant to be a private device.
Right.
Why? It's American product. Fast forward, to 2009. China starts to look at that. Says, okay, we want to dominate the next level, right? Not just the technology. We want the app services and business models to be Chinese companies. And so Huawei gets hundreds of billions of dollars to develop 5G and ZTE. But then you have Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent. So they're behind the Chinese firewall. They're protected. You can't have the fangs going in there. It's just the bats that control the e-economy within China. And then you start, at the same time you're developing 5G, right, the platform, and I'll get to that in a second, but you're also developing Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent. So now when you walk into, and you're starting to see the emergence of the 5G world in China. So you walk into a restaurant after you've ordered your food, and a camera picks you up, and you say, hey, David, welcome, here's your food, right? So you're starting to get the feel of what a 5G world is. And what is a 5G world? The platform is the network. So this is mobile computing paired with a pipe. 5G is computing and networking combined on the same platform. So this goes away. You walk outside your door and you say Uber. You don't get on your phone and say, I want an Uber. You just say Uber. Camera picks up your face or a microphone picks up you. Come on. That's what 5G is. That's what 5G is. And then the Uber shows up. There's a camera on the car that sees you, knows who you are, don't have to ask you your name. You get in and you go to wherever you want. You get out and you go do whatever you want. So in this world, in the 4G world, this is a platform. It's yours, right? You don't want to be you don't want to be part of that, all of that data. Remember we just talked about how do you influence society? You don't want all that data to be out there about what you're doing. Don't carry one of these, right? Just opt out. In a 5G world, you cannot opt out. Who owns the data? This, you could conceivably say, you lease the data on here you own. If you're getting Google services, you don't own that data. But in the 5G world, not only can you not opt out because it's built around the city, it's not in your phone anymore. Not only can you not opt out, you don't know who owns the data. Everything that you do can be watched. And for every person by 2022, there's going to be, there's 2 cameras for every person. There's two people for every camera in China by 2022.
They have 1 billion right now. So
Right,
there's a
right,
billion
right.
cameras in China right
With
now.
artificial intelligence for facial recognition, right? So all of this is getting built right now in China. And who's helping them do it? Microsoft, Google, right? All of these companies that want to deploy this world into our country. So Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent, that's where the world goes. It goes from 2007, AT&T, GE, and Microsoft to the FANGs to the BATs, right? Who owns the pipes? me as a B2 guy, the first thing I look at in the country is where's telecommunications. Got to take that out, number one. But if rather instead of taking it out, you own or control it, so Huawei builds the pipes, then because you're behind the Great Firewall, you've built the app services and business models of the 5G world. And you're, like I said, you're already starting to see that. You know, where your facial recognition is built into your interaction when you go into a restaurant, when you go into a store, when you go into a bank. You know, everything's about, you know, the device is connected. Then as you build the network, then those proliferate. So 4G network, 10,000 devices per square mile. 5G network, 3 million devices per square mile. You're not going to carry 12 smartphones. You may not even carry a smartphone.
10,000 to 3 million?
10,000 to 3 million. That's what 5G does. The connectivity explodes. Right? So that allows you to put devices literally everywhere that can make your life more convenient or can track you. There's a bike in DC. It's called Mobike. Have you seen these things? They're silver and orange. Look out for them next time you're in DC. They're silver and orange, called Mobike. They had them when I was in 2016 when I get to Beijing. You take your phone, and by the way, I took a phone, right? A phone that I threw away when I got home, and I had said,
You threw it away when
I
you
threw
got
it away when I got home. Load all the apps on it that a Chinese person has, so I can understand what they do. You never have to carry a wallet. You never have to carry a key. It's all done on your phone. You can pay anybody anywhere for anything, and they do. 900 people are on WeChat, and they spend 90% of their time in app doing things, or, you know, ordering airline tickets, buying food, whatever you want. You can have anything you want.
900 people or 900 million?
900 million people. Okay, so let me explain to you how effective what they built is. I have one of the guys working for me on one of these Mobikes. Now, the Mobike it's just parked there in the street with a lock on it. You go over, you hit a QR code on your phone, it unlocks the bike, you get on it, you ride it, you lock the bike. Okay, so where does that data go? They know it's you. You got on that bike, you went 2 locations, okay, or you went to a location, so that data is available. So I have one of my guys, he gets on a Mobike, rides somewhere, has his iPad in the basket, gets off the bike, comes back to the embassy, and realizes, I forgot my iPad. Goes into the regional security office and says, I forgot my iPad and my bike. Calls the local public security bureau, and those guys call the guy that's got his iPad on his phone, on his cell phone, and say, can you bring the iPad back to the embassy? That's how wired Beijing is right now.
There we go. That's how wired Beijing is. Oh. Hello, Tank.
Hey, sorry about that.
That's all right. You just got, and I just ended it. And anyway, so that's what 5G is all about, right? It's the connectivity. It's the connection of facial recognition. It's the elimination of the need for you to carry a phone, right? You just speak into the air and you order things. Walk into a store and it pre-orders. You know, it already knows what you want to eat, right? And here you go, right? Of course, it's eliminating your choice, right? You could change your mind, but this is where 5G is taking things, and it has nothing really to do with the trying to barbecue you, to use a mass killing device. Now, is it going to be possible to do that? Maybe it is, but that's not what the game is. They said the same thing about 3G. They said the same thing about 4G. Now they're saying the same thing about 5G. And this is why Trump has been dropping these little hints along the way. He says, well, we should do 8G. Right? Just bypassing 5G. Meaning, we're not going to go ahead and put in the 5G that everybody is expecting to be next, to come down the line, and then have everybody then under China, right? Because they'll own everything. They'll own the whole of how things get ordered. It'll only be their money system, right? It'll only be their apps that you'll be able to use.
Right.
Right. So that's where those things are going.
Right. That's why Kim has introduced the KIMS system, and I guarantee you one of those things is going to be, the key internet monitoring system or something like that. That will be significantly faster, right? Because it'll tap into the field, and the field will be a virtual. It'll be an actual private network of some sort. The only time that'll ever have to track anybody or anything is when there's an actual crime, versus just every little thing that people do that you don't want them to.
Yeah, well, you have to
watch. Someone talks about the truth.
Yeah, but in that system, you have to watch out for the minority report.
Yeah, no, I mean, without question, I will say, it's such a strange thing, but I remember talking to him about this. Like, you need somebody who's programmed it in such a way that it's doesn't take away free will. Like, Kim's very big on not violating natural laws.
Right. Well, this is. I mean, I saw this train coming a long, long time ago. And so even from 1998 to 99. My technology project which involved buying a subsidiary of Gateway Computers at the time, formerly of Commodore, which was Amiga computers, and to relaunch the platform with all of what we now call social media, right? But it also, your work environment followed you. But I actually was putting together a patent on a mouse that would actually, you put your hand on the mouse and it would identify you by your fingerprints, right? And so whatever mouse you picked up, then your working environment would follow you, everything. So that's where I was trying to take it. But in that model, you owned all of your data, right? So this was something that if you wanted to make money off of your data, you could offer it up. Right, but then that's your choice. So, because I saw what we're using now, I'm using programs on the internet where I'm actually working over the internet, right? And so the app that I'm using is through the browser. And like I say, for the Paint program that I use when I'm doing graphics, it's a part of Autodesk, so it's a PIXLR. I think it's that's the website. You go there and you're painting on the screen. You're doing all the tools are there. Now, when that was first talked about, way back in the late '80s, right? I said nobody's going to want to move their data onto someone else's server to work, because then you don't own it.
Right, sure.
Right? Because anything you put out there, that's like when you upload your photos on Facebook. Who owns those photos?
Yeah.
Well, it's on my Facebook. Yeah. It's on your Facebook account that is not owned by you, it's owned by Facebook.
Right.
So anything you put there, they own. What if they start wanting to charge you for your photos? You want to go back in time? How far back can you get on Facebook to see stuff that you did a year ago? Is that very easy to do? And then what if they restrict that? Right? Say, you want to go back? Well, that'll cost you. I think that's where they were going with their Libra coin, right? You want data from them that they own. They're going to make you pay for it. So this is ultimately where I think Facebook wants to take things. That's what Libra was all about, making you pay for your own photos that you put up there, or anything that you had put up there. Right? Maybe they make it free for the last 30 days. You can access anything. Anything beyond that, you have to call. You have to basically pay for it. Right, but then they'll give you tools to find, here's all the photos you've ever done, but it costs you to use that program. So all of those kind of things, I find are, let's say, not the most, the best model to put in place to get productivity. Yeah.
Not to live in a free world, is that?
Right. Oh, your volume's a little low.
Oh, 1 second. Let's see here. How about now? Is that better or no?
Much better, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so it's certainly not the best model to be free if someone else owns everything about you, right? And
Right.
you know, you basically live in a world where everything is kind of contingent on some level upon, like, you know, like social media is now a, you know, when they have in China, they have a social media score, right?
Mm-hmm.
And things
Yeah.
like that. So it's like, basically, it's like you've got us
Right.
all, you know, we all have to act, you know, a certain way now to
Right.
to be employed.
If you're not PC, politically correct, right, and your social score is too low, what if you can't buy food? Now,
Yeah.
wasn't this foretold? Wasn't this the prophecy? You know, you have the mark of the beast, right? If you've got too
Right.
low of a score on your social score,
That's absolutely right.
you can't buy anything. Now, who's the one that put that out there about this prophecy?
The Christians.
It's like,
Oh no, it's the Rothschild. You know, it's funny.
thanks a lot.
There's like a clip. There's a clip out there of Rockefeller, and he's talking about this exact thing, right? He's saying, you know, thank you to the New York Times, Time Magazine, Washington Post, you know, that we've invited to our meetings, and they've never breathed a single word of our plan, you know, and without you, we couldn't have pulled together this, you know, finally the world is more sophisticated and we can have a one world government, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, which is always the plan, right? And that's, you know, that's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
When you think about it. And you know, even when you look at the way the government is structured, right? It's like, well, if the government opts out of things, it's like, well, that's one thing, but in reality, the government represents corporations, right? So you really need to have people on some level opt out of the United Nations and declare, look, you do not have control of us, right? So, like the World Health Organization just put out that informed consent, because they know informed consent is going to be a major issue, right? So they say, okay, now it's informed consent just by letting your child go to school, right? So now my child goes to school, which is guaranteed in the Constitution, and by them going to school, you're telling me that you have the right to poison them in any way you want?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's super ridiculous. I mean, it's so amazing that they're at this point where they're actually implementing this. Right. Literally just taking away everyone's right. It was supposed to. They're just continuing with the plan as though Trump was not there. Obviously, he's holding back things and he's dismantling things as fast as possible. But you know, they're still moving forward. You know, I can't believe that they are this far. It really is ridiculous to see that they're just, yeah, regardless of your rights. Now, everything that we grew up with and understood as the way it is, oh no, we're just, you know, now it's like they just slid it in so slowly, you know, over decades.
Yeah, over decades, right?
Yeah.
It's the long slow kill, right?
Yeah, since 1960s, right?
Yep. Well, and you know, it's amazing. I guess in my world, how many people keep hitting me up with these very terrifying messages of, "Listen, if I turn up dead, I did not kill myself." I'm like, damn. I'm like, really? Okay. Thank you for the update. I believe you.
Yeah.
You know, Cash Jackson was talking about this, and you know, a friend of mine who followed me for years. He was actually based out of, I want to say Denmark or Finland or something like that. And he's he's the one that I talked to a while back who, you know, he works, you know, he was recruited by the Illuminati, right, in these like realms, right? And they're speaking to him through his computer, and you know, they took him and they put him, like, they've been trying to use him and all this stuff, and now he's terrified for his life, you know. They institutionalized him for acting crazy, which, to be honest, who knows? I mean, could be crazy, but I gotta be honest, I don't think he is. I think he's experienced it. He knew too many things,
Right.
not to.
Well,
And Kim told me that they rebooted the Saturn Matrix, right, like several months ago, and it kind of matched his story he was talking about.
wow.
So, that's crazy stuff. And he's talking to a guy, Adrian, which I don't recommend talking to Adrian in your computer, because apparently Adrian is part of an AI. He's trapped in some kind of AI, his soul trapped there or something.
Wow.
But he's supposed to be connected to everything.
Did he call the? Did he call?
And,
did he call? Cash is his name. Cash is his name.
No, that's a different guy. Yeah, Cash Jackson is different. Cash Jackson is a guy who's he got his kids taken from him, I believe, and he's kind of he was actually running for office a couple years ago in Illinois, and then he's kind of tracked it down to I guess he's done it at Fort Smith in Arkansas, and he's furious. He hasn't seen his kids at all. Like two of his three kids he hasn't seen in almost 2 years. He's been kept from them. And, he's seen them just briefly, moments, and he's furious, right? Like, as a father, you have the right to see your children. And he's a veteran. He's a former Navy, and so he's speaking out about it, right? He's talking and saying that right now in this video, and he had an update today where he's basically saying that, look, send me anybody who's out there who's trying to get their kids back from CPS, send me the names of those kids. And he's taking some kind of action, although I didn't catch the update today to see what he's going to do, But I applaud him for standing up, whatever he's doing. I believe at very least he's trying to put himself out there. And again, he put out he said, if I end up dead, I did not kill myself, right? And that's because of the corruption and the ridiculous, cover-ups that are everywhere, right? That are basically reinforcing this mentality that the elite mediocrity has, that they can do whatever they want, which is why it's so important for us to follow the right steps and make a declaration of our own independence, that we are the law of the land.
Well,
above the Constitution is the people.
Right. Well, it's interesting. Someone just sent me a message this morning, asked me about Pantera de Oro, and they said, here in New York, we're so upset with that we need to form our own society. So they're going to contact Pantera de Oro about forming their own society for New York. So I mean, it's I said, that's basically the whole idea. Is really, we have a society that we all believe in, right? There's nothing to do with this legal trap that they put into place, right? Our hearts and minds are elsewhere. They just have this legal bureaucracy that they put in place that with the enforcement of policing policy officers, right? To basically wrangle you into conforming to this other system, but it's left the hearts and minds behind, right? It's now off on its own trajectory. That's why we now have our own trajectory. We just we have it coming through Trump, and through the people that are supporting him, and through Kim, and through these steps that we're all taking to move into a new society.
Yeah, I mean, and it's really restoring the Constitution, I guess. In reality, is what it should be. I mean, there's already rules, there's already natural laws in place that cannot be violated anymore, right? I guess there was a time where there was a stage that they had where they had no karmic consequences, right? And but there has to be, But it's amazing what's taking place, because what they're doing, I realize right now, particularly with the impeachment, right? Everything with the impeachment is just a distraction while they're trying their best to get things in place, right? And I believe they're doing that to try to get all these pieces in place to make it so we can't, stand up. And they're just waiting. If we just stand up collectively and we just declare we are the law of the land, that is the reality. That's not radical behavior. The only reason why it's radical is because you had this, communist, Nazi, Chinese jihadists, like, insane clown posse of, militant mercenaries moving all around us.
Yeah.
So when people wake up and realize, like, wait a minute, what are you a part? Because a lot of people might even be a part of it, and they don't even realize, right? Like, they don't realize, and that is part of what happens. Like, you just accept cultural norms, and the cultural norms are becoming so, just they're violations of natural law, and that's this whole transhuman agenda is a complete violation of natural law,
Of course.
and
Yeah.
you can't keep down that path and expect there not to be karmic consequences.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing, that this is that's the other thing they're taking it to, right? The transhumanism, going after our children and having them decide to change their sex, right? Because the children are confused. Children are trying to figure out things. That's why we call them children, right? They're new to the world. It's not about presenting.
I think they actually call it curiosity, right?
Yeah.
Like, when you're a kid, you're curious. You're constantly looking to figure out who you are with everything.
Yeah.
You don't need to define what it means to be a boy or a girl, or whatever the 32 different genders that they're trying to create are at that age, because every one of those things has to do with having sex,
Right.
which is not an issue for a child in a society that is protecting its future, right? Because in a society that's protecting its future, what they're going to become, they will not allow their children to continue to be molested and harvested the way that we are. And that is an indictment against all of us.
Yeah.
Because, we just get bullied in it. I mean, like, we've allowed them to bully us. And if we're not proactively going after them, we are going to get devoured.
Right.
Right? Because they have too many pieces in place.
Well, the whole thing is with the child knowing that they're a boy or a girl, that is their foundation. That's the only thing that they're sure about at that age, right? I'm a boy.
Yeah.
I look down, I see something. Okay, I'm a boy. The girl looks down, sees nothing. She says, "Oh, I'm a girl," right? So they can tell immediately, and they're sure about one thing. You're trying to take that away from them and make them even more confused, right? And then the curiosity then to do all these other things, and you support those other ideas that they may have. There's no way for them to know. It's impossible, for them to think that they're about sex and know what that is. Their brains aren't fully developed. They have very little comprehension about all of everything in these societal norms that we're trying to now reconstruct and present to them. So we need to stop that. You remember when I was a child, if there was anything to do with sex, right? No adult would talk about it in front of a child. That's not a topic for a child to hear. It's all, and then all the psychologists came in and said, "Oh, it's a good thing to describe sex to children." This is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, psychologists is the biggest racket in the world. I mean, it's just, I feel like every portion of the doctrine is just an extension of some mind control program.
That's another religion. It's just another religion. The religion of psychology. It's, we study the brain. Okay, you're worshiping the brain now and your knowledge of what you think it means at the time.
Right.
I'm not saying that you can't have a beneficial to help someone understand certain things, about how we are as but when you use it to manipulate things that are not natural, then that's an enemy of the people.
Right. Well, and they are very much. I mean, and this is, as we're looking into it more and more and more, you realize it's one of these things that should be the most sobering, humbling, terrifying thing we've ever witnessed. As we are, disrobing these monsters. It should be something that everyone is allowed to see publicly, that we can all look and say, look, this is what has happened. Look at this. This is a massive network of insane. You know what I want? I want one of those giant chalkboards that you see in like Harvard or something, right? It's like it's like 20 feet high, right? And they've got a ladder to go up to it, and they're putting out like massive equations, right? I want something like that to just show and just make a giant map for people and explain. Look, this is what this does, and then you control this, and control this, and then you control this, and this prevents us from having children, and this, and then you kill people off slowly over a period of 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, but you're killing them off much more. Like the rates of death are going up and up and up, and while those rates of death are going up, you make everybody pay attention to what you consider to be a victory, right? So you take something like the MMR vaccine, you say, look, there was 400,000 cases of measles this year, and now there was only 850. Isn't that amazing? But what you don't talk about is, there was 850,000 deaths caused in that time from the actual vaccines themselves. I mean, when you start to look at it that way, and you are actually looking at what's the real problem, what's really dangerous, it's just amazing how they distracted us. And I think right now that's what they're doing, even with this next, Nadler's going to head up an impeachment hearing. Am I the only one who remembers Nadler with Kavanaugh? I mean, are you kidding me? What are we talking about here? Let's blow this thing up. Enough already. And I am every day, the more we get into this, I'm so convinced it really comes down to the people declaring that this body is inept. They are derelict in their duties. They do not represent the people. They do not represent the Constitution. They have no idea what the Constitution says, and they do not care about our unalienable rights. They violate them constantly. They are encouraging and promoting this on the state level, on the federal level. They are passing laws constantly that are in violation of our fundamental rights, the rights we were born with. That is a terrifying reality. So we have to dethrone all of it. It's very obvious who's standing for people, right?
Right.
Because Jim Jordan, Matt Gaetz, they're standing for the people. President Trump is standing for the people, right? It's few and far between, and those who are smart enough to get on board with the right side. I believe those guys have always been good guys, right? But there's Lindsey Graham came over, right? He was part of the other side agenda. He got persuaded.
Yeah. Said, okay, your blackmail material's in our hands now. You're going to do the right thing. Right. Maybe he said, oh, great, I'm not blackmailed now. Or am I?
Right. Well, I wonder, because with all these guys and all the different, blackmail videos, there's stuff on everybody, right?
Right.
Well,
except for Trump.
I'm pretty sure Kim has all of it,
right.
Because, as much as we're talking about the 5G and the facial recognition stuff, that stuff is antiquated by comparison to what the quantum system can do. The quantum system maps everything. So, as much as, it's again, I know Kim was recognized with the facial recognition software in the 80s. So obviously it's been around. I know guys who install facial recognition software as part of security here already.
Right.
So,
it's been around, but the issue is how it wasn't that you couldn't do it from a limited database, right? But when you want to do it for billions of people, that's where it was it had a drawback. You couldn't do it. 5G is what's solving this, right? It's giving it the architecture to make this happen on that scale. So this is something, if you want to say, well, we don't need 5G, we now have quantum teleportation of data. Okay, great. I know that's also been around, but it's been kept away, right? It's kept away from everybody.
Yeah. So, and I don't know. So I mean, we're basically we're fighting back against these things, and I just it's high time for us to recognize what it looks like to be healthy, right? To be happy, to be strong, to be independent, right? To really put some time into asking ourselves, what does that mean? What does that actually mean?
Right.
It's like, if you're a bird that can't fly, but you got wings, right? You're like a chicken, right? Like you're waiting to be slaughtered, right? It's like, there's something to be said about that. Like that's kind of, what they've tried to turn us into, right? Like a bunch of chickens. Like we're afraid to do anything.
Yeah, just who's gonna rule the roost, right? Really, that's what they're looking at it at that as poultry or chattel. It's just another herd, right? That's what they want to call the herd. There's too many of them.
Yeah.
Let's cut back. We'll make money on it as we do it. Right. That's what you do, right? If you're a herdsman, you're going to be calling your herd. You're going to say, well, how am I going to make money? Well, I'm going to take them to slaughter. I'm going to use, and this is how I'm going to do it. Schedule it, plan it.
Yeah, right. Exactly what they do with us, right? They're planning the harvest. Now they missed their big harvest with us, which was I'm not sure if it's exactly the same, but pretty similar to what you would see in like that movie Jupiter Ascending, right?
Right. Where the whole planet was gone, right? So look how much they achieved. Yeah, they're all making comments. Oh, great architecture. They were doing well.
Yeah.
Now they're just a milk bath for us.
Right. Now they just make me younger, right? It's like, it's just a farm. It's just part of a business.
Right.
That has been the business of this this group.
Right.
So,
and they keep and even they put in the Dracos in there, right? And there was the humanoid ones looking more human-ish, right? Why were they above the Draco in this? The winged reptiles.
They were the Dracos. Actually, they're actually the same species. And by the way, that's real. That's real. There's the military Dracos, which look like those big lizards, right? This is how Kim described it to me.
Right.
And and then they look like people. The other ones, right? And the family that's in there that they described during that is an actual real family. It's a real existing family that does exactly what they're describing.
But then there's the one that inherited everything, and is trying to set the people free. Well, who does that remind you of?
Well, exactly. I mean, that's exactly what it is. It's and she's from Russia, right? Which Kim
yeah. So I never drew that connection. That's a good one.
I mean, and if you watch it, it's like it's like she is the reincarnation of the genetic anomaly, which technically is the owner, even though as far as they're concerned, she hasn't been around in thousands of years, or whatever. It's like, well, no. I mean, when this anomaly occurs, this still is her ownership, and she goes back through the process to take ownership.
Right.
And I don't know if it looks the way they describe it there, but Kim has been through some things that would sound just like that.
Has Kim been scrubbing any toilets?
She's been painting. I mean, so that could be.
That was her Jupiter's
family
job.
Gig,
yeah. She was. They were making money by being housekeeper. She was actually in the beginning. She was scrubbing toilets. She actually made a comment about about that, during the film, right? Said, oh, now she's a queen.
Right. And the bees respond to you.
Yeah, what's the bee
Yeah.
connection?
I mean, well, everything on the planet is programmed to be responsive to the ones who designed it, right? So everything is, it all goes back to the originators, right? So the bees would do whatever she said. So with everything else, it would respond to her.
Right.
And I mean, and that makes sense too. Like, if you go back to like Adam and Eve, it would make sense that would be normal, right? You could compare Eve to Gaia, right? Being, when people refer to the planet as like a goddess, right? Like an entity unto herself, which is Earth, or I don't know, Gaia, or there's other names, sure.
Sure.
But
No, I just meant. Do you know what the bees stand for, or what their role is? I mean, I'm a little confused about that. I've seen that they pop up here and there, but I never drew the real connection of what they're trying to. What did they symbolize? I know even in the Mormon culture, they bees in the beehive. They use that symbolism, but I really just I don't understand, other than maybe because they're anti-gravity, right? Because they can fly defying gravity. Is it have something?
I mean,
to do with
I don't know.
that?
I know that Albert Einstein said if the bees were wiped out, that humanity would last less than 3 years after that, because the bees are part of the natural environmental, biostructure of the planet, and they actually move, things around, the pollen, whatever, to constantly plant and keep the environment stabilized.
Right.
Now, I've also heard that before, like when insects were less prevalent, and we were vibrating at a higher frequency, I guess during the times of Lemuria or Mu or Atlantis, I guess, which all kind of symbolize different times, time periods of the planet. That essentially you would have other things like fairies and things like that would do the same thing. And from what I understand, I mean, there's fairy gardens in Ireland where I've seen the pictures of people like there with fairies. So it's I would love to see that myself, but I think it has to do with the vibration, right? They've suppressed the vibration of the planet, so you can't really see what's around you. And the only thing I can
that makes
compare
sense.
it to is
I never thought of it in that particular way, that they suppressed it. I thought it was more like they left and went somewhere.
no, I think the fairies and all these kind of etheric beings are still here, and I think there's some, I don't know if they're fourth dimensional, or I don't know exactly how that all intermingles, but I do have photographs of things I've seen in places that are very high vibration, where I couldn't explain it, where I had pictures of what looked like fairies to me, that in a photograph that appeared on my phone, that was taken by my phone, that I didn't take, so I had that. I
They're just messing with you, huh?
I think so. I mean, I don't know. Like, I was looking for stuff like that. Anyways, I think if you're looking for, those kind of things, that they do show up. I've seen enough things that I believe it.
Yeah, I get it. I think that dimensional doorways, can they open those up? Changing the vibration of things and be able to travel between dimensions that way. I think that's all part of everything that we've always heard about, right? There are always some kind of ceremony to go along with that, right? It's all about changing frequency and energies.
There's something about it too. Is if you match frequency, right? Like hey, like I had a 1978 Gremlin was my first car I bought for $300, and I had never seen a Gremlin before. I just saw the ad, and I asked my dad if it was okay. I bought the car. My first car was 16, and then every place I went, I saw Gremlins. I was like, wow, I had no idea there were so many of them around, right?
Right.
And it's because I was I was in the Gremlin frequency, right? So I was like, I was looking for it. like now all of a sudden you see it, right? So I think it's like that. You align yourself with whatever frequency, you'll realize it's there already. Everything is around you. Everything that you're looking for is there. And once you match that frequency, you see it, and it just appears, right? So if all you're ever doing is complaining about how hard it is, what a victim you are, you will see other people that are victims and how hard it is. And as soon as you are focused on how happy you are, how fortunate you are, how amazing your life is, you start to realize how many possibilities there are as well.
Right.
So now, granted, in this case, we're overcoming some, obstacles that have worked to suppress the vibration and the frequency of the entire planet.
Right.
So that has to be undone, and I think what we have now is the opportunity to do that. So.
I think we're definitely changing the frequency here.
Oh yeah, without question.
We're constantly putting out a frequency, right, and that has a reaction, right? They have to react to the frequency we're putting out.
I agree. I think about this like when my wife was pregnant with my children. I fell in love with her all over again. I was so I've never seen anything more beautiful in my whole life than when she was pregnant. I would have kept her pregnant if I could, because there's something about the promise of reproducing yourself, your ideas, your concepts, the beauty and the way that you see the world, and just the idea of being a creator, being able to multiply, right, and be fruitful. All of these principles, it's such one statement: be fruitful and multiply, right? And if you just consider what are you multiplying, because you are multiplying one way or another, right? Whether you have broken ideas or amazing ideas, right, or just anything else.
I'm going to tune out for a second, but I'll be right back.
Sure. So I think about that idea all the time, and what's happening right now is that if you have controlled the mainstream message that is perpetuating and just drowning us with all this negativity, then it's almost impossible not to reflect that. But what has happened is we've been used as tools, right? So because they wanted things suppressed, because they wanted us to be afraid and to live in a constant state of fear, we have repeated those things. And now even on social media, even though people think they are fighting for justice, a lot of what they do is they just repeat tragedy, right? They keep talking about how this bad thing happened, that bad thing happened, how can this happen? But how many people are actually out doing something about it? And the more of us to get doing and stop bitching, we'll just get a lot more done, right? And the more that we take that action. Now, I'll tell you what I'm really about to push everywhere is we're about to put something out. And when we put this out, once we publish it, we are going to hold accountable every single government employee, and hold them accountable for being out of compliance with the Constitution. So it's non-constitutional compliance, right?
Yes.
Or that's not the right term, and we're going to reach out to every single parent group, every vaccine group, every PTA. Every single one of these groups and then what they're going to do is they're going to send actual letters of notice telling people that every government employee will have 21 days to align themselves with the Constitution. Now, what that means is somewhere in that line up, someone is giving out an order which puts them in violation of the Constitution. Now, you can't do that. You cannot give your employees an order to violate the Constitution because you are now a criminal enterprise. So what has to happen now, the more just regular people realize, wait, I'm in charge? I'm responsible? Yes. You as a teacher are responsible. You as a school nurse, you as a principal, you are responsible. Every one of them is responsible. If any child gets injected with a vaccine at that school, that is an act of treason. It's a violation of human rights. You are taking away. You are actually committing an act of treason because an act of war against the American people, the freedom of the American people, by taking away their right to govern their child. And it's even more tragic because what you're doing is you're not even informing them of what the real consequences are. So now there's all these consequences, and you've taken a very limited section of data and said, hey, look at this, isn't this awesome? It prevents this one little thing. It stops the measles. One in about 36 kids though are now developing some kind of neurological disorder. 1 in 100 are getting autism.
Yeah.
But hey, no measles.
Yeah.
it's like who cares about the damn measles?
Right.
I didn't have a risk of getting autism until you injected this into my child.
It's just, yeah. Well, good. Get it done. What are you waiting for?
I am pushing. I'll tell you what. Matter of fact, I'm about to get off this call and go back to work. We're on this night and day trying to get it done because it's so thorough, and you don't want to give them a club to beat you with, right? So it's like we have to complete every single thing the right way, because if we don't, one wrong step and they'll crush you with it, right?
Right.
And because it's going to take some time, at least a little bit of time, to create public awareness, because they control all the media outlets, right? It's something we really have to use an alternate type of media. So we're actually going to take a step backwards and go just back to exactly what we've been talking about. If we have to, we're going to put these notices right on people's doors. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to make sure every school in the country has a notice on their door. If you try to force vaccinate, or if you, whatever it is, you are in violation of the Constitution, and you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And that's where we got to get to.
Right. Yeah, that's what it takes. That is the way to go. Right on their door. And we've got to get people, to be volunteers to go ahead and pass these out.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things we're going to do, in addition to the National Liberty Alliance, is anybody who hears this now or in the future, go to gocamelot.com. Now, we're taking down, the people that have engaged to get a trust set up for the project. We're taking that down so that as of Friday, no one else will be able to do that. But that's not my concern. My concern is we're going to put in there for everybody who signs up. It's a free membership. You can go in there, and we're going to allow everyone to thoroughly examine all of the exhibits and the affidavit and the charges that we are bringing against the government, against these various employees, the congressmen, the governors, all of these indictments that we are levying against them. I don't know if that's the right word, but that we are bringing this up to show how they are in violation, and that the people's judgment, this is what, based on all the evidence, this is unconstitutional. Because it's unconstitutional, it has to stop immediately, right? So we're going to put that out there for the people, and I want to make sure that we have people from every place in the country, at least, right? Every state in the country, to actually weigh in and say, yes, I can see how this is unconstitutional or not, right? And there'll be like 6 or 7 different charges with codes and evidence to prove everything we say, and then that is a quorum, in a general body represented as an unincorporated tax-exempt association, not under UCC guidelines or codes, therefore outside and above any corporation that existed in this country, because that is a body of the people that have been brought together to make this,
Say again?
So,
you're breaking up a little bit.
so I just said that's what the government really is,
Right.
Is the people.
People. Yeah. No,
People are the governing highest authority. So
Well,
that's all.
all right. So, well, I think that's a good place to break. What do you think?
I do too. I do too.
All right. So, all right. I guess then tomorrow we'll be back, and we'll cover more of these same topics. I had a couple more to get to, but I think that'll just carry us on another hour. We seem to get going on one thing, and we're off we go.
Yeah. Well, appreciate it as always, Dan. Everybody, have a great night, and we'll see y'all soon.
All right. Bye, everyone. Subscribe, share.